Have you ever wondered what happens when someone you trust completely has a secret life you know nothing about? That's exactly what happened to James Harrington, a millionaire tech CEO raising his daughter alone after tragedy struck. What he discovered when he followed his daughter's beloved nanny would change their lives forever, in ways none of them could have imagined. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more incredible true stories of life-changing moments that remind us how connected we all really are. James Harrington stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse apartment, watching the city lights flicker to life as dusk settled over Chicago. At 42, he had everything money could buy: a thriving tech company valued at billions, a stunning home, and all the trappings of success. But the reflection staring back at him from the glass showed the truth: tired eyes, worry lines, and the weight of responsibility that no amount of wealth could lighten. "Daddy! Look what I made with Miss Elena." 6-year-old Lily bounded into the room, her dark curls bouncing, a paper creation clutched in her small hands. Her excitement was the only genuine joy in his life these days. James knelt down, examining the origami swan with exaggerated wonder. "That's incredible, sweetheart. Did Miss Elena teach you how to make this?" "Uh-huh. She knows how to make lots of animals. She promised to teach me a dragon tomorrow." Lily's eyes sparkled with admiration for her nanny. From the doorway, Elena Martinez smiled softly. At 28, she had been Lily's nanny for nearly 2 years, arriving in their lives 6 months after James had lost his wife, Catherine, to a sudden aneurysm. Elena had become the steady presence that held their fractured world together. "It's getting late, Mr. Harrington. I've prepared Lily's lunch for tomorrow and laid out her clothes for school," Elena said, her voice carrying the slight musical lilt of her Mexican heritage, though her English was perfect. "Thank you, Elena. I don't know what we'd do without you." It was something he said often, but tonight the words felt heavier somehow. After Elena left and Lily was tucked into bed, James sat in his home office, unable to focus on work. His mind kept drifting to the conversation he'd overheard that morning between Elena and someone on the phone. She had been speaking rapid Spanish, her voice urgent, almost fearful. When she noticed him, she had quickly ended the call, offering a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It wasn't the first time he'd noticed something off. Small things: Elena checking her phone anxiously, mysterious calls she took in private, occasional days when she seemed distracted, worried. For months, he'd dismissed his concerns. Elena was exceptional with Lily, patient and loving in ways that reminded him of Catherine. His daughter had blossomed under her care, slowly healing from the trauma of losing her mother. But the nagging doubt persisted. What if Elena was involved in something dangerous? What if she brought that danger into their home, to Lily? The next evening, instead of working late as he'd told Elena he would, James waited in his car down the street from their building. When Elena emerged at her usual time of 6:30, he followed her at a distance. Instead of heading toward her apartment in a modest neighborhood 20 minutes away, Elena took the subway to an area of the city James rarely visited, a working-class neighborhood with aging apartment buildings and small businesses with signs in Spanish. She walked briskly, checking over her shoulder occasionally, making James hang back further. Finally, she entered a small, dimly lit community center with a sign that read "Centro de Esperanza" in faded letters. James waited 15 minutes before approaching the building, his heart pounding with uncertainty about what he might discover. Through a window, he could see a room filled with children of various ages seated at tables. Elena moved among them, leaning down to help a young boy with what appeared to be homework. Her face was animated, her smile genuine as she explained something, pointing to a textbook. James stood frozen, confusion replacing his suspicion. This wasn't what he had expected. He moved closer to the entrance, where a bulletin board displayed flyers in Spanish and English. One caught his eye: after-school tutoring program for children of immigrants. As he stood there, the door opened, and an elderly woman with silver-streaked black hair emerged. "Can I help you?" she asked, her eyes narrowing slightly at his expensive coat and the luxury watch on his wrist, clearly out of place in this neighborhood. I'm just... James stammered, unsure how to explain his presence. The woman's expression softened. Are you looking for the tutoring program? We always need volunteers, especially those who can help with math and science. Actually, I know someone who works here. Elena Martinez. Ah, Elena. The woman's face lit up. She's our angel. Those children adore her. Are you a friend? I'm her employer. She's my daughter's nanny. The woman nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. I see. Would you like to come in? I'm Maria Gonzalez, the director. Inside, the center was modest but warm, with colorful children's artwork covering the walls. Maria led him to a small office and offered him a chair. Elena has never mentioned that she works for a wealthy family, Maria said, studying him. But that explains how she can afford to volunteer so much of her time here. Volunteer? James asked, confused. She comes here after working for me? Maria nodded. 3 evenings a week, without fail. And Saturdays too. She started our tutoring program 2 years ago, shortly after her brother was deported. Deported? The word hit James like a physical blow. Elena had never mentioned a brother. Yes, it was very difficult for her. Miguel had been in this country since he was 12. His children, Elena's niece and nephew, were born here, U.S. citizens. When he was sent back to Mexico, the children stayed with their mother, but she works 2 jobs. Elena started this program to help them and other children in similar situations. James sat back, trying to process this information. I had no idea. Elena is very private about her personal life. But she's passionate about these children. Many of them have parents working multiple jobs, or family members who have been deported. Some are struggling in school because English isn't their first language. Elena believes education is their best chance. Through the office window, James could see Elena kneeling beside a young girl, perhaps 9 or 10, gently guiding her through a math problem. The child's face lit up with understanding, and Elena gave her a high five. That's Lucia, Elena's niece, Maria explained. She's brilliant at math but was falling behind because of all the family disruption. Elena has helped her catch up and then some. James watched as a boy, slightly older, approached Elena with a paper. Her face broke into a proud smile as she examined it, and she pulled him into a quick hug. And that's Diego, her nephew. He struggled with reading, but now he's at the top of his class. For the next hour, James observed Elena in this different environment. She was the same person he knew, patient, kind, encouraging, but here, she seemed to carry a sense of purpose that went beyond professional duty. These children needed her in a way that was different from how Lily needed her. When the session ended, parents began arriving to collect their children. James watched as Elena spoke with each one, offering updates on progress, suggestions for home practice, always with respect and warmth. Some parents looked exhausted from long workdays, but all greeted Elena with obvious appreciation. As the center emptied, James stepped out of the office, knowing he couldn't hide any longer. When Elena saw him, she froze, shock and then alarm crossing her face. Mr. Harrington? Is Lily okay? Her first thought was for his daughter, and that touched him deeply. Lily's fine. She's with my sister tonight. He hesitated. I followed you, Elena. I overheard your phone call yesterday, and you seemed upset. I was concerned. Elena's shoulders slumped slightly. You thought I was involved in something bad. It wasn't a question, and James felt shame wash over him. I'm sorry. I should have just asked you. Maria touched Elena's arm. I'll finish locking up. You two should talk. There was a small park across from the center, and they walked there in silence, sitting on a bench under the glow of a street lamp. For several minutes, neither spoke. "The call you overheard," Elena finally said, "was about my brother. He's been trying to return to his children, but it's complicated and dangerous. I was upset because he told me he might try to cross the border again, and the last time." Her voice broke. "The last time he was caught, he was held in terrible conditions for months before being sent back." James listened, seeing Elena, really seeing her, for the first time. Not just as his daughter's caretaker, but as a woman with her own struggles, her own family, her own life. "Why didn't you ever tell me about any of this? About your brother, your niece and nephew, this center?" Elena looked down at her hands. "When I applied for the position with your family, I needed the job desperately. My brother had just been deported, and his children needed support. I was afraid if you knew about my family's situation, you might not hire me." She paused. "And later, it just never seemed relevant to my work with Lily." "Not relevant?" James shook his head in disbelief. "Elena, you're raising my daughter. Everything about who you are is relevant." "I never brought my problems to your home," she said firmly. "I've always given Lily my full attention and care." "I know that. That's not what I meant." James ran a hand through his hair, frustrated with himself for not expressing his thoughts clearly. "What I mean is, I wish I had known because I could have helped. These children, this center, this matters to you, which means it should matter to me too." Elena looked at him, surprise evident in her expression. "You're not angry?" "Angry? No. I'm impressed. And honestly, a little ashamed that I followed you instead of just talking to you." He gestured toward the center. "What you're doing here is incredible. Those children adore you." A small smile touched Elena's lips. "They're amazing kids. They just need someone to believe in them, to show them what's possible." "Like you do with Lily," James said softly. Elena nodded. "Lily reminds me of my niece sometimes. That same curiosity, that eagerness to learn." They sat in silence for a moment, the night air cool around them. "Tell me about your brother," James said finally. "And your family." And so she did. She told him about growing up in Mexico, about coming to the United States with her parents when she was 16, about the struggles and triumphs of building a life in a new country. She told him about Miguel, who had been caught in the complex web of immigration policies, separated from his American-born children. She spoke of her dream to expand the tutoring program, to create scholarships for the children, to build bridges between communities. As she spoke, James saw the passion that drove her, the deep well of strength that allowed her to care for his daughter all day and then come here to care for these children in the evenings. He saw her intelligence, her vision, her heart, all the things he had glimpsed but never fully appreciated. When she finished, it was late, the park empty except for them. "I should get home," Elena said, standing. "It's a school day tomorrow." "I'll drive you," James offered, and this time she didn't refuse. In the car, Elena seemed nervous again. "Mr. Harrington, I hope this doesn't change things. I love working with Lily, and I would never let my personal situation affect my care for her." "Please, call me James," he said. "And no, this doesn't change things, at least, not in the way you're worried about." He pulled up in front of her modest apartment building and turned to face her. "Elena, I want to help. With the center, with your niece and nephew, with your brother if possible. I have resources, connections. I know immigration attorneys who might be able to assist your brother's case." Elena's eyes widened. "Why would you do that?" "Because you've given so much to my family. Because what you're doing matters. And because..." He hesitated, suddenly aware of how his next words might sound. "Because I think we could do more good together than separately." The following Saturday, James and Lily visited the Centro de Esperanza for the first time. Lily was thrilled to see her beloved Miss Elena in this new setting and quickly made friends with Elena's niece and nephew. James, feeling awkward at first in his casual clothes that still somehow screamed money, soon found himself helping a group of teenagers with algebra. That visit became a regular weekend activity. James brought his business expertise to the center, helping Maria secure grants and donations. He hired immigration attorneys for Elena's brother and for other families at the center. He used his connections to bring in additional volunteer tutors from his company and other businesses. Elena continued as Lily's nanny, but her role evolved. She became James's partner in expanding the center's programs, her insights guiding his contributions. Together, they created a scholarship fund for the children, ensuring they could pursue higher education regardless of their families' financial situations. 6 months after that first night James followed Elena, her brother Miguel was granted a humanitarian visa to return to his children, thanks to the legal team James had assembled. The day Miguel arrived at the airport, Elena invited James and Lily to be there with her family. Watching Elena embrace her brother, seeing the tears of joy as Miguel held his children for the first time in years, James felt something shift inside him. The walls he had built around his heart after Catherine's death began to crumble. That evening, after the celebrations, James and Elena walked together in the same park where they had talked that first night. "I don't know how to thank you," Elena said, her eyes still bright with happiness. "What you did for Miguel, for all the families at the center." "You don't need to thank me," James replied. "Seeing your family reunited, seeing what we've accomplished at the center, that's enough." Elena stopped walking and turned to face him. "It's more than that, though, isn't it? Something has changed between us." James nodded, unable to deny it. Over these months of working together, of sharing both Lily's care and their vision for the center, their relationship had deepened into something neither had anticipated. "I never expected to feel this way again," James admitted. "After Catherine died, I thought that part of my life was over. I focused on Lily, on work, on just getting through each day. And I never expected someone like you to see me, really see me," Elena said softly. "Not just as a nanny, not just as an immigrant, but as a person with dreams and value. You've shown me what real strength looks like, Elena. You've helped me remember what matters." James took her hand, his heart racing. "I don't want to complicate your life, and I know there are 1,000 reasons why this might not work, but I care about you. Deeply." Elena's fingers tightened around his. "I care about you too. And about Lily. But you're right, it's complicated." "Life is complicated," James said with a small smile. "That doesn't mean we shouldn't try." 1 year later, the Centro de Esperanza had expanded to 3 locations across the city. Elena had left her position as Lily's nanny to become the executive director of the now incorporated nonprofit, with a full staff and funding secured for years to come. Miguel worked there too, coordinating a new program that helped families navigate the immigration system. James had stepped back from the day-to-day operations of his company, choosing instead to focus on the foundation he and Elena had created together. Lily, now 7, split her time between school, the center where she helped younger children with reading, and home, where Elena was no longer the nanny, but a permanent part of their family. Their wedding had been a joyful blend of cultures and communities. Lily had been the flower girl, Miguel the best man. The children from the center had performed songs in both English and Spanish. 2 worlds that might never have intersected had come together in celebration. That night, as they danced under strings of lights in the community center's courtyard, surrounded by family, friends, and the children whose lives they had touched, James whispered in Elena's ear, "I'm so glad I followed you that night." Elena laughed, the sound full of happiness. "I'm glad you were curious enough to find out the truth instead of just assuming the worst." "It changed everything," James said, holding her close. "No," Elena corrected gently, looking over at Lily dancing with her cousins, at the families gathered together, at the community they had built. "We changed everything. Together." And in that moment, James knew that all his success, all his wealth, meant nothing compared to the richness of the life they were creating, a life built on understanding, compassion,